And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Orioles episode. So today, as you can probably imagine, we'll be talking about the Baltimore Orioles Mount Rushmore. So the four greatest Orioles of all time, essentially. Speaking of fours, there's only four of us here today. Unfortunately, Wade got stuck at work tonight, so he couldn't make it. So hopefully he'll be back next week. And in case you hear some weird noises in the mic, I have a little bit of a cold, so I apologize for that, but I'll try and keep it out of the mic. And let's get started. Drew, who was your number 4 Oriole on your Mount Rushmore list?
Frank Robinson.
I thought about him, but he did not make my list.
Nope.
Yeah, he was 5 on.
He didn't make Wade's either.
Well, I know it was a shorter time in Baltimore. It was only 6 years. But he did some things in Baltimore. He won an MVP. He won a World Series there. He had 800 hits, 143 doubles, 18 triples, 179 home runs, 545 RBIs. He had a batting average of 300, a 401 on-base percentage, 543 slugging percentage, a 944 OPS. Those 6 years in Baltimore were pretty good. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the years he was in the MVP vote, and 3 of the years he was in the top 3. Like I said, he helped them win their first World Series. I think he was their first MVP, maybe ever, in Orioles history, I believe. And he hit for the Triple Crown in Baltimore while he was there. So, I mean, I know it was shorter, but the stuff he accomplished there, I think, was pretty good.
Well, first off, I like Frank Robinson. And second off, I did consider him. I think the things that held me back were, first off, you already mentioned the longevity.
Yeah.
And it's not just that he was there 6 years, it's that all the guys you want to talk about played there forever.
That is true.
So, like,
the other 3 guys on my list are...
Yeah, they're maybe not completely lifers, but they played there a really long time. And the other thing is when I think of Frank Robinson, I think of the Reds. I don't think of the Orioles, so I just was like, you know what, I think I'm going to leave him off.
All right, that's fair.
But he did the MVP, the Triple Crown, like a World Series. Like, he accomplished stuff while he was there.
I just thought for mine, I know it was short, but like, he was just the first to do a lot of stuff there, so I thought maybe just...
Mm-hmm.
I put him at 4. I know that the rest of my guys were definitely there way longer then, but I thought I could sneak him on there.
Well, does anybody else have anything to add on Frank Robinson before we move on?
Yeah.
All righty. Uncle Doug, who's your 4?
My number 4 is Eddie Murray.
That is also my number 4.
He's also Wade's number 4 and my number 3.
Yeah, we had talked earlier. I thought I had Robinson, but I actually had Murray.
So do you not have Murray, Drew?
Nope, I don't have Eddie Murray. He was my number 5.
Well, that's ridiculous.
So Eddie's in the Hall of Fame. Got a World Series, 3 Gold Gloves, 3 Silver Sluggers, 8 All-Stars, 2,000 hits, 343 home runs, 294 batting average, 1,200 RBIs. Pretty good career in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Well, obviously he didn't do it all in Baltimore, but he's one of, 8 players to have 500 home runs and 3,000 hits both?
Right, yeah. The numbers I gave you were his Baltimore numbers.
Yeah.
So he had 2,000 hits in Baltimore
Mm-hmm.
and almost 350 homers. They had 340-some homers.
Yep. He led the league in home runs and RBIs once. He led the league in walks once. Well, in Baltimore, I mean. He won Rookie of the Year in Baltimore. He was one of those guys that, he never had that year that you were like, holy shit, I can't believe he did that. But he was remarkably consistent for a long time.
He was just good forever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he played 21 years, and, at the end, he wasn't as great, but, obviously you kind of expect that when he's 41 years old, but...
Yeah. Yeah, you tend to slow down a little bit in your
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
So
I'll
what
be
was
doing.
his last year?
97.
97. Okay, because I noticed he played in Baltimore for a whole streak, and then he was gone, and then he came back in like 96.
96, yeah.
Yeah, and I figured it was one of those deals where he came back to Baltimore just to finish up. But
Yep. He's also the all-time leader in sacrifice flies. I don't know what that necessarily means, but he is.
okay,
He knows how to aim it.
yeah, knows how to do his job.
Yeah.
I think that's something that is very clearly missing in today's game. Nobody moves runners over.
No,
There's no Here's my thing is, how about you just don't strike out?
right.
Like, there's a guy sitting on second base. Like, how about you ground out to the right side or hit a long fly ball so he can at least advance to third, so no matter what happens on the next at bat, unless it's a strikeout,
Yeah.
he scores.
He scores.
But no, we'll get a guy on second, and 3 straight guys will strike out. And you're like, seriously? The guy's still standing there?
Yeah, they don't move him at all.
Yeah, they won't even get him moved, much less score.
Yeah. I'm not asking you to give yourself up, but when you get 2 strikes, put the damn ball in play.
Right, yeah. Put the bat on the ball. Don't be striking out.
Anyway. Ray, do you have a 4 left?
No, Eddie was my 4.
I have a 4 left because Eddie was my 3. My 4 is Jim Palmer.
That's my 3.
That's my 3.
Yeah, he's my 3.
He's also Wade's 3.
All right, so Jim's in.
It's our first pitcher. But Jim Palmer is a Hall of Famer. He won 3 Cy Youngs. He's a 6-time All-Star, 3-time World Series champ, 4 Gold Gloves, and he has 2 ERA titles. He pitched 19 years, all in Baltimore.
Damn.
And he was a horse for a while. These are back-to-back-to-back seasons. These are innings pitched. 323, 315, 319, 296. He in one of those these are the same seasons. The same seasons I just said with those innings. These are his complete games. 25, 23, 22, 19.
That's just unheard of today.
No.
We don't see that.
20-some complete games?
We don't see that from the whole league.
You're probably right. I bet there's whole
guarantee it.
teams that we didn't see a single complete game from.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. You just don't see it anymore.
No. That's crazy.
Yep, I agree. And he won 23, 22, 20, and 21 in those same 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And he won back-to-back Cy Youngs in the first 2 of those seasons. He had an ERA of 2.09 in that first season. So he went 23 and 11. First off, he lost 11 games with an ERA of 2.09.
Not much run support there.
Yeah. With 25 complete games, 10 shutouts. He also has a save that season,
Okay.
pitching 323 innings.
Wow. And he still played for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's not like throwing all those innings destroyed his arm.
Yeah, he just kept pitching. I mean, it's just
Damn.
wild.
Some of these pitchers today couldn't even fucking shine his shoes, apparently.
I mean, I guess I don't get it. You have a guy like this back then in the 60s through the early 80s pitching all this time, and it seemed like his arm was just fine. You know what I'm saying? And then nowadays we have guys who can barely pitch, and they don't even pitch close to what he did. So, I mean,
Right. They don't throw
There's
nearly
got-
innings.
Not only that, but his team was really good. They won 3 World Series.
Yeah.
So that means he threw 300 innings and then went on and pitched the playoffs
Right. Pitched
all the way to the
playoff
World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah, at least 3 times they went through the World Series. But how many times did he just at least 1 or 2 rounds of the playoffs?
Right.
Well, at least 3 times they went to the World Series and won.
Yeah.
They could have went. I'm sure they went
Yeah.
more than one.
and you know that he was the main pitcher.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he
was getting as many innings as they could throw.
He was getting 1, 4, and 7 at least, if not coming in and throwing closing in some of those games. I bet.
So, when I looked at it, it had him listed at 65 to 67, and then 69 to like 84. What happened to 68?
That's a great question. I didn't notice that till now, but you're right. Was there like some sort of military service or? What would have been happening in '68 though?
I don't know.
It's a great. You gotta Google that, Drew.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up why.
I mean, I just
I didn't even see it until you said that, Dad.
That's a great question.
Wow.
Well, while you're looking at that, I'm gonna look at his.
He tore his rotator cuff
mm.
and missed most of the 67-68 season.
Yeah.
He said he almost gave up baseball.
Well, thank goodness he didn't do that.
Wow.
Yeah, he said in 19, fall in instructional league, he said he wouldn't give a nickel for every pitching again. And I guess they talked him back into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he pitched in the playoffs 8 seasons. And he had an ERA of 2.61 in the playoffs. But he only won 8 games.
Wow.
He was 8-3 with a 2.61 ERA in 17 games.
Huh.
Now, the first World Series run, he only pitched 1 game.
What year was that?
66.
Huh.
Would that have been before they expanded the playoffs, where they were just it was automatically the World Series?
If you win.
Oh, the 2 pennant winners.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know when the playoff structure started.
But 66 would have been his rookie year, right?
Yeah, I believe that's when he started.
65.
65. So it would have been his second year in the league. So he wouldn't necessarily have been like, the man yet. But he only pitched 1 game, gave up 0 runs, and threw all 9 innings.
Oh.
So he threw a complete game shutout in the 1 game he did pitch.
Shoot, my first playoff game was a World Series game.
And it says in the World Series, so that must be the case.
Yeah.
And then
That's wild.
he pitched in the playoffs a few years there, but then they won this World Series again in '70. And he pitched 3 games. And sorry, I'm trying to scan back around here. He actually got lit up in one of them and gave up 8 runs. But the other game, he pitched. Oh. Well,
that's the one he lost. That's another World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like they made 2 other World Series at least when he was there. They lost to the Mets and they lost to the Pirates.
And then they made the World Series again. They won the World Series again in '83. Well, that's actually, yeah. And he only threw 2 shutout innings, so I don't know what happened there. But
Well, I don't know.
Anyway, he was a beast. He was a workhorse. He came in and he was the best pitcher for a franchise for a while. So, anyway, I thought he was deserving.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
So, does anybody have a 3 left?
No.
Nope.
Nope.
Just my top 2.
All right. Ray, who is your number 2?
Brooks Robinson.
He's also mine and Wade's.
He's also mine.
Yeah, he's mine.
So not just unanimous, but unanimous number 2.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, Brooks Robinson is somebody we had a giant argument about in this podcast.
I don't know much as an argument as just kind of a standoff. Him and Chipper Jones for about
Yeah, that's true.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's an MVP, 18-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, World Series MVP, and a 16-time Gold Glove.
Yeah, that's just unreal.
In a row.
16 Gold Gloves. Man.
This is a guy that played 23 years in the league, all of them in Baltimore.
Wow.
Dedication.
Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, just think. He started in like 55 and played to the late 70s.
Yeah.
Like half the 50s, all the 60s, and more than half the 70s. He was the third baseman for the Orioles. That's just crazy.
It's just crazy when you draft people like that. They're a staple for your franchise for 2 decades.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just wild.
Unlike LeBron James.
Oh, this isn't even about basketball.
I don't care.
Yeah, you don't see that kind of run anymore. People staying at one team.
No. Nope, that went to wayside about 2004 or 5. And everybody started dipping out.
I'd say early 2010s. The people started
Think so?
funneling out. Yeah, like Kobe and
Kobe
Dirk,
made it all the way.
Dirk, Tim Duncan, and them. They all made it through, but now it's over. Like it ended with LeBron, Durant. Now you gotta give Steph credit. He stuck it out in Golden State.
That's true.
We'll see what happens though.
So in 1970, when the Orioles won the World Series, in the first round of the playoffs, Brooks Robinson batted .583.
Wow.
Yep. With a couple RBIs and a couple doubles. But in the World Series, he batted .429 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs and won the MVP. I'd say that's a hell of a playoff run.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
That's pretty impressive.
I'm guessing he got the MVP.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
The Orioles used to be a little dominant team there for
Oh,
Couple
yeah, they had a
decades.
stretch where they were good.
well, I mean, over a stretch of like 2 decades, they were in like 6 or 7 World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, they win what 3,
Yeah, 1-3.
and they make it. We've already seen them make it to 2, and I think they've made it to more than that than what we've looked at. Because I think we saw earlier they lose to the Mets, they lose to the Pirates. I think they lose to the Reds in 1, but they beat the Reds and they beat 2 other people. So I know they at least made
1-3, and we're in at least 3 others. In
So,
that
yeah.
time period, so
they at least made 6 in like 20 years. I mean, that's
most teams will take that.
Absolutely.
Dodgers. Take a note.
Yeah.
All right. Well, does anybody have anything else about Brooks Robinson?
Yeah.
I mean, he's widely considered the greatest defensive third baseman of all time. All right. Well, I think it's pretty obvious to everybody who the last guy is. But Drew, who's your number 1?
Adam Jones. No, I'm kidding. Cal
Boot
Ripken.
pal.
Boog Powell. I forgot about old Boog Powell.
The reason why I said Adam Jones is when I was looking at that, someone had him on there.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, and I was like, really? Well, I like Adam Jones, but I was like, no. These older guys definitely have it.
Yeah.
The newer Orioles don't have the accolades as the older ones do. But, yes, Cal is my number 1. Obviously, he has his Iron Man streak of all those games in a row and all that. He's a 2-time MVP. He's Rookie of the Year, 19-time All-Star. He's got a World Series, 2-time Gold Glover, 8-time Silver Slugger, 2 Major League Players of the Year, 3,000 hits, 431 RBIs,
And he won a home run derby.
276 batting average, yeah. Home run derby too, right? And 2 All-Star Game MVPs. I mean, after they started going down and regressing a little bit, it was coming to watch Cal every day.
Oh,
Be
yeah.
witness the Iron Man streak. I mean, how many games in a row was it? I mean, it's just insane.
It's like 2,000 something,
Yeah,
I think.
it's something nuts.
Isn't it? Or is it bigger than that? I
I
should
don't
know. I
remember
should
now.
know this number off the top of my head.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's 2000 something, but I can't.
When did the streak start?
It was like his first season, his third year in the league. Or his second league. It was only 160, but
2,632 games.
yeah, that's. And we will for sure never see that again.
No.
No.
We can't get anyone to play all 162, much less do it for like 10, 15 years.
Indeed. Yeah. No, I mean,
Over 16 seasons.
yeah. And here's the thing. Major League Baseball plays 162 games, which you're like, okay, that's a lot, which it is.
It's a lot of baseball.
But it gets really crazy when I say the next stat. In 185 days.
Oh yeah, you play like 5-6 games a week. You get one day off.
Well,
but when you're off, you're traveling somewhere.
that's the thing. What I just said was 185 days. So that means you get 13 days off. So there's a lot of weeks where you play all 7 days.
Sure. And there are going to be double headers thrown in.
And
That's how
yeah.
you get your days off, by playing double headers.
And sometimes you don't see home for over a week. Like if you go when you got to the West Coast, you play especially back then. Well, maybe not as much but sometimes in the back, you would play like teams out west: the Padres, the Giants, the Dodgers, the Angels, the Mariners.
Yeah.
You get them all out of the way, and then you go back home.
I think it was last year. I think the Red Sox started the season on an 11-game West Coast road trip.
And most of the time when teams like the Red Sox go out there, they play a couple of teams and go back. I mean,
Yeah. You don't want to drive out there and play the Dodgers and have to go back out there and play the Angels a little bit later.
Right.
Like, well, let's just play them both while we're here.
Makes sense.
But I'll shed a tear for them tonight, knowing their bank account number.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just...
Back when they were going on the trains and stuff,
oh gosh.
it was probably a rough trip. Now, of course, they fly nice.
But still,
Uh,
2-3 time zone changes all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, poor guys. Time zone changes.
Hey, it messes with some people.
Yeah, I'm just saying that nobody in this room, except for probably Drew, because he's still actively playing college sports, could probably go do a lot of physical activity and then get up and do it again the next day.
Yeah, I retired from that a long time
Do it for a
ago.
whole week.
And yeah, they do it day. Like, there's months where you like, okay, there's 30 days this month. I got to play baseball 28 of them.
Yeah.
That's grueling. Like,
And some of these would be quicker. Like you might play a night game. Like on Saturdays, you might play a late game, and then you got to get up and get ready to play at 12 o'clock the next day for a new
Sunday afternoon, because a lot of times it's Sunday or Saturday night
and Sunday morning.
afternoon.
Yeah.
yeah. Or what if you go into extras one night and play till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you got to play again the next day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you directly leave the stadium, go get to the airport, get on the plane, try and get some sleep on the plane. Like, it's just stupid. Like,
Baseball's a grueling sport. It's ridiculous.
you couldn't do it if it was as physically demanding as like football, or I mean, obviously football, but even basketball. Like, you couldn't put your body through that every single day.
No. You couldn't hold up.
Well, not just that, and baseball's in the worst part of the year.
Yeah.
Like
the
going
dog days
through
of summer, yeah.
June, July, August. I mean, in a lot of these places, it's beating down on you.
Well, I mean, you think about baseball in Miami, baseball in Texas, Southern California,
Arizona.
Arizona.
I mean, some of them have their domes and stuff, but that only does so much. I mean, it's
Yeah. No, I'll give the warm weather stuff. I got heat poisoning in Texas one time, so I'll give them that heat. That shit sucked.
Well, anyway, I have to point out one more thing. That Drew ruined a perfect week. I just want to point that out.
oh,
I mean, last time this happened, it was Ray that did, and I cussed him out.
I went and hazed myself later.
About sent Ray to the island for reconditioning.
That's right, reconditioning.
You had to get my
sticking
implant.
with my boy Frank. Did a lot.
Well, it's good that we talked about Frank, but you need to come to our side,
Yes.
please. I'm asking nicely.
Asking nice.
I mean, we got 3.
Or-
We just need
Nothing
one
wrong
more.
with
I mean, if it make you feel better, we could go to the boards.
No, I know what we should do. Put an asterisk next to it.
No, we should not. No, we should
No, I'm
not.
kidding.
Yeah, we can put an ass by it.
No, I'm fine. Eddie's fine. That's
All
fine.
right.
That's fine
Well,
with me.
Do 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 do. Peace out, Frank. We'll see you later.
so that is a pretty simple week there. So for the listeners here, just for a reminder, the Mount Rushmore for the Baltimore Orioles is as follows: Eddie Murray, Jim Palmer, Brooks Robinson, and Cal Ripken Jr. I'd say that's a pretty good 4 guys there.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good group.
And that will end this portion of the episode and lead us into what if. And this week's what if is what if Pete Rose never bet on baseball? Now, I will say this before we start talking about that in depth. Let me ask everybody's opinion in the room. Do you think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Yes.
Mine's yes.
Mine's also yes, which I find odd because I know a lot of people that say no and are very vehement about it. But my case is he cheated as a manager.
Right.
So why can't he be in as a player?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you what I have said from early on about this.
Oh,
whole
yeah.
Pete Rose. Drew's heard me say this a
I've heard
million
you say
times.
this. Yeah, we've talked about this.
I think he and the commissioner of baseball had an agreement.
Yeah.
And I think Bart Giamatti died before it could be completed. I think he banned Pete with the purpose of, I think he was going to let Pete back in.
Yeah.
And then he died, and then there he's stuck. And that's just my opinion because, I mean, I really feel like Pete was such an ultra-competitive guy. He never bet against his own team. He did it as a manager. I don't think anybody would ever accuse Pete Rose of trying to fix a game
Yeah.
or anything like that. He wasn't, I mean, he bet a lot, but he was never somebody that I don't think he ever was concerned about him owing too much money or anything like that.
Well, I guess here's another question too. What if nowadays he got caught doing it? What do you think people would view it as now? And if it just came out that he bet it on his own team, would people be as mad about it?
Well, I mean,
I know it's not good to bet on your own sport, but if you did it nowadays, it's at least more accessible than it was back then.
yeah.
Well, sports betting is legal now. So that is, it does have a different, it's viewed differently.
Yes.
Betting on your own team, I still think would be pretty frowned upon.
Yeah.
Because first off, you have inside knowledge, so it would probably be looked at like you're cheating. First off, but second off, I would say that it's probably still they would put that. I think the league would come down hard on you, a la Calvin Ridley, because they're like, hey, you're giving our sport a bad name. And obviously, you could be throwing games. I mean, most of us aren't old enough. Well, Drew's not old enough to remember at least, but the other 3 of us probably remember Uncle Doug more than Ray and I. But how much it affected college basketball when
Arizona State.
Yeah, but what do they do? They
were point shaving.
Point shaving. Thank you. The
We-
point shaving
We
stuff.
watched a documentary about that. That if you ever do get a time, I don't think it's 30-30, but it's a different one. It's very interesting. Like they did away because the guy that did it, the way he did it, he knew there's a certain amount when you bet on games, how much you can do without getting flagged by the casino. So him and like 3 or 4 buddies would go to the casinos and they would put 9 or 10 bets, but at these lower amounts. And it was on Arizona State. They would always pick them to win, but they would win by like 4 points. 5 points, and they got the players in on it and saying you can win, but they give them the number. They did it a couple times. They did it, and then there was a big game. I think it was against Washington, and they lost, and they got caught. And I think something else happened, but it was not good.
They
But,
should have wore disguises.
but no, it was. I think they got caught because they kept hitting on it, and it was like a Pac-12 basketball game at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday was getting more bets than the mainstream.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, not just a Pac-12 basketball game. It wasn't like it was Arizona State versus Washington on a Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. Was getting like over $500,000 on bets
Yeah, that would tend to raise some red
Yeah.
flags.
instead of betting on NBA games or UCLA. It was like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it raised big flags. I mean, then it didn't hit.
Yeah.
So
That's that insider stuff. You got to go with that side bookie. Don't be going to the main casinos doing that shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they made a movie about it. Blue Chips.
Right.
Talking about point shaving in it. Anyway, so I guess more in depth into it is obviously if he never bet and never got in trouble, Pete Rose would be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's the all-time hits leader. He's got an MVP, doesn't he?
yeah, I think he's got multiple World Series.
Yeah, multiple World Series.
He's
yeah,
on one of the most iconic baseball teams. Everyone knows it, the Red
the big
Machine.
Red Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But more like Calvin Ridley, I mean, he got suspended for a year. I mean, were they just suspend him for a year and then let him keep going?
Or even if they tell him he can't manage anymore, still let him in. Like Alex said, let him in as a player.
I mean, did he start managing as soon as he quit?
He was a player manager for a year or two.
Oh,
think
okay.
so,
So he went right into it. It's not like he waited a while, then became a manager.
Yeah.
I was about to say, if he waited so long, he could already go ahead and get in before. Man, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. If he'd have waited the 5 years, he could already been in.
Mm-hmm. But since you went
Sure.
right to it, you can't do that, yeah.
But, so how do you think Pete Rose is viewed differently, or is he viewed differently?
Well,
I think it's more like a frowned upon thing than anything
Yeah,
else.
I think people still view him as a great player and stuff. They just view upon him betting on his own team as a manager.
I think people that watched Pete play and saw it back in that time period probably don't think as harshly of him as maybe somebody today that never saw him but said, "Oh, he was betting on baseball."
Betting on his own team. He's betting on his team in games, and without seeing him actually play, people don't know. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you can tell guys that would never like bet against like their teams and stuff, and he was one of those guys.
I mean, his nickname was Hustle.
Yeah. And if you ever watched him play, I mean, he put everything he had into the game. I mean, you see him wipe out that catcher in an all-star game. It's like,
What's the point?
Into the guy's career.
yeah. I mean, he was all about winning all the time.
So how good were the teams that he was managing?
They sucked, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they were great.
So
So
by
he
the
was
time-
losing. So he was losing money, probably.
I don't know.
So
I didn't know if like any of the details came out or.
Yeah, I remember that he was betting on other things too, and then it came to baseball.
So then by the time he got banned, he wasn't really making a big impact in the manager game, was he?
No, I don't think he was ever like in a World Series or anything like that as a manager.
So it's really mostly affecting his player career, this betting shit.
Yeah. Well, I think, they were probably thinking, like Alex said, that it gives baseball, it's a bad look.
Yeah.
It gives baseball kind of a black eye. Ever since the Black Sox scandal of way back, betting has just been so taboo.
Right.
And
But no, the way I was kind of looking at it is, yeah, he got banned, but I was kind of looking like towards future years of him managing. Like, would it impacted his teams if he would have not got banned, or the teams would have
I
got
see
more?
what you're saying.
Would have got better? Like,
I don't know. I don't remember him being that great a manager. I mean, he probably expected everybody to play like he did, and people just don't.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I think he's explained it before. Like, he could just see the ball and hit the ball differently. I mean, that's why he's the all-time hits leader. Like, the way he explains it, not everyone can do that, or everyone will be able to hit 4,000 hits.
Yeah.
Like, does anybody else have 4,000 hits, or is it just him?
It's just Ty Cobb.
I'm not sure.
Ty Cobb has a shitload of hits too.
I'll look it up. I was trying to think, because I was looking at Pete Rose's stuff. I'm trying to think if anyone had 4,000. Yeah, Ty Cobb's got 4,000. He's got 4,100.
Pete Rose's managerial record is 412 and 373. So he's above 500, but not by a lot.
So possibly, but not really. And what? Like, I must be fuzzy, but what teams was he managing? Just the Reds?
Reds, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I will say this. Pete Rose for a little while was on MLB Network and would do like breakdowns and like help do like shows like in between games and stuff. And dude is stupid smart about baseball.
I mean, I think he almost got to be able to hit.
Like, I remember one time he was on there with like Frank Thomas, like Gary Sheffield, some other guys, you know, and they were talking about Aaron Judge. And Aaron Judge was like having this big tear. He was hitting a bunch of home runs and everything. And all these guys were bragging about Aaron Judge. Well, Pete Rose wasn't saying anything. So the host goes, "Well, Pete, you're being awful quiet. What do you think?" And he goes, "Oh, Aaron Judge has a hole in his swing, and pitchers are going to figure it out here shortly, and he's going to go into a big slump." And, like, everybody, like, the guys on the show were, like, laughing at him. And he got mad and was like, and just completely broke it down. He's like, the hole's right here. He can't get his bat around to the ball. He's like, if you throw a velocity here, he'll never be able to hit it, and he's going to have a whole bunch of strikeouts, and he's like, he's going to have a bad second half. And it happened. Like
I said, you can't have that many hits and not know how to hit a baseball like the way he does. I mean, obviously people know how to hit a baseball, but the way he did, I mean, it's just, to be able to break that down and predict something like that, that's just wild.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, it's kind of like Rodman with rebounds. He studied how it bounced, how it came out the rim, how it came off the hand. He knew where it was going.
I would say,
People just good like that.
I would not have a problem with him being in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. But people always bring up, well, you put him in, you got to put Barry and the boys in. No, it's a little bit different story. And I hate
performance.
You know how many Barry Bonds lovers there are out there?
There's a lot of them.
I mean, there's more.
I don't know where they all were when he was playing, though. That's my big thing. Is everybody hated the motherfucker, but now everybody wants to act like they were like these huge Barry Bonds fans.
Saying. I see more people that love him say let him in than I do people that say don't. I'm like, what? But then some of their arguments are just stupid. Like, well, that has nothing to do with baseball that he got bigger, huh?
Yeah, some people are stupid.
I'm like, what? I'm like. Yeah, obviously, I wasn't alive for when all that happened. Were there a lot of Giants fans around when this was happening?
No.
When he was hitting all these home runs and everything?
Not that I remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't really know that many Giants fans, but I don't know if they just bandwagon on him hitting all those home runs.
Probably. That's usually how it goes.
Maybe. Of course, I mean, Barry wasn't even liked by his teammates.
No,
Right.
he seemed like a douchebag.
So, I mean...
All right, well, I don't think this went as well as I thought, but oh well. I think we're going to wrap up the episode. Well, we appreciate you tuning in for this Baltimore Orioles episode, and we would appreciate you tuning in next week for the Boston Red Sox Mount Rushmore, my favorite team. That'll be interesting, I think. And please rate, review, subscribe, comment, email at
Sports the NEMO Way at gmail.com.
and thanks for tuning in to Sports the NEMO Way.